Hi, ReadyAPI community. I'm welcoming you in SmartBear Talks, where we're discussing exciting and trending topics with software testing experts. And today we have a special guest from the ReadyAPI team, actually. It's Eliane Inzana, our senior of product development here at SmartBear. Hello, Ellie. Thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Hello, Tanya, and hello and welcome to the Ready API community.
Let's start with this short introduction. So could you please share your background with the ReadyAPI community? Where are you from? And how did you decide to be in the career of the software development?
Sure. So I'm Senior Director for Product Management for API Testing and Virtualization here at SmartBear. And I started my career in product actually a little bit accidentally. I was working at a company called Global Insight, now IHS Market, and there was a project. I was an analyst actually at Global Insight, and there was a project that we had with our commercial platform that was called the Navigator. It was about sort of how do you bring together data and information together. And back a long time ago, instead of more agile product development, user stories, etc., we used to do something called a product requirements document. It was about that thick. And the sort of methodology was the product people would write it up, they would send it to the developers, they wouldn't talk with each other, and then several months later, no one would be happy with the result. So that's what happened with the Navigator, and the project was sort of all up in arms. Everybody was ready to quit and everything else. So they gave it to me because I was good at sorting out problems. And so I read through the document. The next Monday, I talked with the developer, a gentleman named Piotr, and I said, you know what, this is ridiculous. The document has so many different requirements, so many different things that you could possibly build. Let's just cut the scope down to these three things, because if you can do these three things with data, we can figure out the rest of it as time goes by. And you know what we're going to do? We are going to talk on the phone every day. He was in Gdansk in Poland. I was in Boston. We're going to talk on the phone every day and just make sure that we're staying on track with this project. And now he and I can sort of look back and laugh and say, remember when we invented Agile together? Because neither one of us had, that as part of our background. We hadn't been trained to it. But what we kind of came to naturally was that software development is an iterative process, and that we needed to stay in close communication between himself as the dev lead, myself as what I now know is product management lead, and our quality team, so that we could actually build the right thing and take the time to build the right thing first and then iterate on it and deliver additional value to our customers. And that's what we did. And the Navigator was a really successful part of our platform. From the moment that we launched it, people really loved it. We were able to iterate on it. So it wound up being a very sort of successful tale. And it was my start as a product manager.
Okay, sounds great. And how did it happen that you choose API after that, or was it again accidentally?
It's always a little accidentally, but I have been a platforms product manager. So the idea that I was using my skills to bring information, insight to customers via their commercial platform. One of the things that was always a part of delivery when you're working for a company that has a ton of data is APIs. So I was very familiar with Swagger and things like that. And when I started interviewing at SmartBear, I discovered like what they wanted me to help out with initially was API virtualization. And API virtualization for me was actually a really exciting idea because it answered the question, which was very difficult to answer, I think, for data services, which is how do you actually try it out? Like, how do you do the equivalent of a wireframe for a UI, but for APIs? And virtualization was an amazing way of doing that. And I thought it really isn't being used as much as it should be in the industry. And it gave a very useful way of doing a proof of concept so that ultimately when you build the API, you're not just building the API right, but you're building the right API. So that was why I came to SmartBear. And since then, all of API quality and virtualization and the team that works on them are working now with me.
Great. And if I ask you to explain what do you do for SmartBear in 2 sentences, what would you say?
Oh man, that's tough.
I know.
um, Let me see. I think it would be um, I manage the teams that think about how we can build quality into the API development lifecycle. Really from ideation phase with virtualization
Mhm.
through CI/CD deployment, and the means to execute that.
Great. And it sounds like you enjoy what you are doing.
I love it. Honestly, we have a wonderful team who are both subject matter experts and really obsessed with figuring out new ways of solving problems that have been around as long as APIs have been. Um, and we're all just sort of constantly learning. I also
Sure.
think, as far as APIs go, the industry is really at a super interesting inflection point where we're seeing APIs as a very dominant way of transmitting information. We're seeing the proliferation of different types of specifications and protocols and specialization to help people build the right architecture to deliver their information. So for me, it's like any industry that's at an inflection point, that's an exciting time to be a part of it. And so we're all really pleased that we can do that here at SmartBear.
Okay, great. And you mentioned that we are learning every time or every day. Do you use any special maybe resources that you can share with the Ready API community where they can learn more about like API? Um,
Sure. So, one of the things that I would always encourage folks to do is to take a look at some of the really sort of fantastic newsletters and other information that's out there. Um, you know, Net API Notes is one great. The Nordic APIs blog and sort of live video series is another. They sort of touch on a lot of API related topics in new and interesting ways and are a great sort of summation of information. But of course, I would also definitely encourage folks to attend some of our webinars, conferences like the ASC, which is put on by the Open API Initiative, of which I'm on the business governing board. And there's just so many great events out there. And now, because many of them are virtual,
yeah,
you have the opportunity to kind of attend things that normally,
you
you
cannot.
wouldn't have the
Yeah.
opportunity. So, but also to the rely on our community. Our community has a lot of great information and insight into ways of using the tool and solving certain problems or challenges. And it's really great to see how quickly people respond and offer up their own expertise to help people along in their API journey.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that under the video somewhere we will add the links to those resources that you mentioned so that people can simply click them and follow and start reading. And returning to API and Ready API specifically, so very simple question. Why do you think Ready API is the best tool?
Well, I may be biased, but I think what makes Ready API special, to me at least, is a couple of things. One is the ability to take a functional test that you define and reuse that functional test in scenarios of performance, or take a specification that you import and reuse it as an API, like a virtual asset or a virtual API. Um, that sort of all-in-one functionality, I think, is really important, and it cuts down on the amount of work that you as a developer or as a quality engineer have to do to assure all of the dimensions of quality for your API. And the second thing, and I think it's almost equally important, is multiple protocol support. It's pretty rare, and we're even seeing it in our state of API survey that we do every other year at SmartBear, that a organization's API are all 100% RESTful APIs. we see additional protocols. We see SOAP, but we also see, event-driven APIs, GraphQL, and
Mhm.
it's difficult to have to switch between tools and software and everything to, you have one thing that works with GraphQL, another thing that works with REST. The fact that ReadyAPI can handle all of those and is looking to support even more, I think is a really huge advantage, and it helps you test your entire stack.
Is there anything, I know that you know everything about Ready API, and is there any features that we may expect in the near future in Ready API which you are most excited about?
I have to say, and it goes along with the same sort of multi-protocol story. We will be deploying support for Apache Kafka, testing Kafka event streams by the end of March. And as we move into April, we'll also be launching support from the specification on down for async API. So async API is a way to sort of describe a specification format to describe event-driven protocols, the producer and subscriber relationships, and we're going to be one of the first tooling sets that supports it from a testing perspective, which is works well with the other protocols that we already support, like MQTT and JMS. And so that, I think, is something that's really exciting because sometimes the event-driven streams are the backbone of a microservices implementation, for example. Also, and I think we've seen this with COVID-19, with everyone quarantining at home, real-time APIs are a huge part of the API economy, and there's not been a great way of testing them. And so one of the things that I'm particularly excited about is helping people to answer the question, was this API built correctly, but also is this API serving the purpose that it needs to,
Mhm.
functionally testing it and understanding the scenarios of use.
Okay, great. So we're looking forward for those of these features that our customers will be able to touch very soon.
Mhm.
Thanks a lot. That was very interesting to learn more about you. And if you have anything to say to the Ready API community, you can simply say it.
Yeah, I would just like to thank the community for being the wonderful resource that they always have been. And, as a company with our roots in open source, we believe very strongly that the community is the backbone of our products and our offerings. We also have a wonderful product team. Our team, I think, is really engaged with the community. And so we look forward to you contributing asks, feature requests, and we will reach out to you as we bring forward new features, and we want to test them out with folks who are familiar with the platform, and would like to see even more from it.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for this interview.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye bye.